Today we're going to make pasta con ceci, pasta with chickpeas. This recipe is one of those fantastic recipes that makes you look like a kitchen goddess in under 30 minutes. For those of you that follow my channel know how much I love to cook, but this recipe came about as a part of a collaboration. Tangi over at The Caver's Wife and Amanda from Fundamental Home have this amazing project that is ongoing. Every month they get a new YouTuber to submit a frugal meal, a meal that you can serve your family for just a couple dollars. And this has been going on, I know, at least a year, maybe longer. I'll put all the links below before I start. But if you go over to The Caver's Wife, Tangi's website, on YouTube, her channel page, you'll see playlists. I looked at it this morning and she didn't have it on her homepage, so right under the banner you'll see an option for playlist. Click playlist and it'll take you to Frugal Family Food, and that will show you all of the other YouTubers that have participated in this Frugal Family Food Challenge. So what I love so much about these recipes and about these women doing this is they're creating a community within YouTube of other creators, and they're presenting something that you guys have asked for. So I'm delighted and touched to be part of this. It's an honor, and so this is my contribution meal. Now my family is two. I don't even know if you can call that a family. So this recipe is for 2 people, but just scale it up or down accordingly. Or maybe one really hungry person. So for those of you who are seeing me for the first time, hello, my name is Corinne Phillips, and my channel is called freshprincesscooks. I don't like using labels. I'm such a free spirit and it kind of goes against my philosophy, but I'm a cook, I'm a gardener, I'm a fermenter, I'm a bread baker, a wife, a sister, a friend, and sometimes armchair philosopher. So if you guys are interested in connecting on social media, my links are below, and go on over to my channel, freshprincesscooks, and hit subscribe. I'll see you there. This recipe comes from Victoria Granoff. It's one of the Food 52's genius recipes. And I love these recipes because they're generally really simple. They're something that even the most basic, most beginner cook can make, and it will make you look like a total kitchen goddess. Or as Victoria said, it'll make you feel like you're sitting on a balcony in Naples. And it is one of those recipes. It's greater than the sum of its parts. It sounds like tomato paste, garlic, like chickpeas, but it's fabulous. Now there are a few little cook's tips that I will give you as you go along to make sure that you get this recipe dialed. Now this recipe comes together really quickly in just a couple minutes, but what I love most about it is it's one of those meals that you can make on those cold, snowy winter nights where you think you have nothing in the house, because the whole entire recipe can be made with items from your pantry. This is one of those simple Italian staple foods, and every cook has their own way of making pasta con ceci. Now you can make it as easy or as complicated as you want. Now, because I'm a cook, I love making food complicated because I like it to be complex. But I'm going to show you how to make it simply, and then you can kind of veer off course from there. So what you're going to need is pasta. Any shape pasta will work. You can use sheet pasta, you can use noodles, you could use whatever you want. I'm going to use conchiglie. I love the shape. It's like a little shell, but the reason I like it is the shell is big enough. It's bigger than a macaroni, and so it's just big enough that the chickpeas actually fit inside. So when you're stirring the dish together, the little pastas will actually have chickpeas seated in them, and I personally love that. But you can use any kind of pasta you have in the cupboard. Chickpeas, salt, pepper, garlic, tomato paste. Now I'm going to throw in a piece of Parmesan rind. This is completely optional. I love it as a plant eater. This is kind of my bacon, if you will. It's delicious. Now you can serve this pasta dish straight up, or you can add a little bit of parsley and red pepper flakes, which I love. And a good quality olive oil. because there is no broth in this, you're not using any flavor enhancer. The olive oil is the broth. It's what's going to make it kind of creamy and rich. And so you don't want to skimp on any inferior olive oil. So get one that you want to eat, that tastes good to you. I couldn't have picked a more perfect day to be in the kitchen cooking. It's snowing out. I went to the store to grab parsley for this recipe, and I ended up standing in line. I'll put a picture. I took a still picture. Those of you who don't know my grocery store, the line went around the perimeter of the store and doubled back again on itself. It was unbelievable. And I live in a town of like 4,500 people. So Snowmageddon has been forecasted. I think everybody was out grabbing stuff. So see the things I do for you. I did get in the spirit, and I hoarded a few things I didn't need, like pineapple and yogurt and some fruit, but parsley, it's important. In my world, parsley is kind of a food group. I love it. So I'm using, as I said, the conchigli, movie magic. Get rid of the thing and put my cup here. And some chickpeas. Now, the chickpeas, I just cook in my slow cooker overnight. I buy beans in bulk. I usually buy 25-pound bags. That's a lot for a family of 2, but I'm a plant eater. And so when I cook at home, I cook all plant-based meals. So for us, beans are an absolute fundamental staple. They're a huge source of fiber, of protein, and it's just one of our main food staples. So you can get bulk chickpeas for, gosh, I don't know, 20 bucks a bag, and it makes these just pennies. And if you cook them in a slow cooker, you don't even need to soak them overnight. Just if you can remember the night before, throw them in there, turn it on the next day. At dinner time, they'll be so soft and so delicious. Pasta garlic from my garden, so super cheap. Grow your own. And we're going to take like 3 big cloves, maybe 4 little ones. And then tomato paste. This is an organic tomato paste, and I also, for those of you that follow the channel, I make my own fermented tomato paste, and I'll put a link to that video here. This is an Italian conserva. It's a really salty fermented tomato paste. Now this was from not this past fall, the fall before, and it will keep indefinitely, especially in the refrigerator. It's a really salty, umami-rich, delicious addition. So instead of just using regular tomato paste and salt, I'm going to add a little bit of this before I add the salt, because this is kind of like tomato salt. But again, that's me making it more challenging than it needs to be, so you can just stick with the tomato paste. And then I want to talk about this, Parmesan rind. Now, this is the piece that most people throw away. It's the hard exterior part of Parmesan. It is delicious, and I use way more rinds than I actually do Parmesan, even though I use a fair amount myself. So my girlfriend here works at a local pizzeria, and those guys throw away bags of this. They go through so much Parmesan, so she saves it for me, and then I trade her jam or applesauce or whatever I've canned. And so if you're part of a small community, even if you're part of a big community and you just live in one area, get to know people, because we're all struggling to be individuals. We all live in this very individualistic culture. But making community and trading with people and expanding beyond what you yourself can produce is a really beautiful thing. So this comes to me basically for free based on whatever fruit I'm canning, and it's delicious. I add them into soups. My Italian girlfriend gives them to her child for teething. They're just Parmesan. I mean, it's delicious. And when you add just a piece this size into a big pot of soup, it completely changes the flavor and the richness of that broth. So those are delicious. I love these little things. little throwaway foods that you can actually use and are yummy, yummy, yummy. I'm going to put this all in a medium-sized saucepan. You want to make sure that you have a saucepan with a tight-fitting lid. So for starters, we're going to go ahead and get our olive oil heated up. Now the recipe calls for 4 tablespoons, and that's just for 2 people. That sounds like a ton of olive oil, and for those of you that came out of the 80s like I did and have that fat-free phobia, get over it. This is the sauce. This is the broth. There's no stock. There's no anything else. This is the flavor. So don't go all fat-free on this dish. The oil makes it. And make sure that you're using an olive oil that has a quality that's good to you, that like tastes good, because it's such a big part of this dish. So 4 teaspoons is enough to cover the bottom of the dish and then some. So while our olive oil is heating up, I set it over medium-low. We'll go ahead and smush our garlic. Now the garlic, you don't even chop it. You can cut this little nubby bit off the bottom. I've been cooking today. I've got some bread going. I've got the biga over there doing its biga thing, and I finished up another batch of kombucha this morning and added citrus and some rosemary, and then I did a pomegranate rose one, which is fun. I love kombucha day. So these look a little bit on the skimpy side. I'm going to go ahead and add another one. So here's our garlics. We're just going to take the butt of our knife and smush them. I like to smush them just so they start to fan out a little bit, because we're going to brown them. And I like those little browned bits. So our oil's probably hot. We're going to toss in our garlic. We're going to cook the garlic for maybe 3 minutes at the most, just till it starts to get really light brown. And don't worry about people saying never brown garlic, it gets bitter. Overly browned garlic and burnt garlic certainly are bitter. But if you lightly brown it, it can be really delicious and add a whole nother kind of flavor element. So while my garlic's doing its thing, I'll just get my parsley chopped up. Now the parsley is my own addition. I love that kind of pungent sharpness of parsley when you have something really rich like a tomato paste sauce, but it's optional. If you don't have it, skip it. The garlic is lightly browned. I'm going to go ahead and add in my tomato paste, and it's 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. I'm going to do like a teaspoon of this tomato conserva, just because it's so salty and a little goes a long way. But for those of you using tomato paste, the secret with using tomato paste in a recipe is not to just stir it into a broth, but to fry it. It totally transforms the flavor. And so with this recipe, once the garlic has started to brown, we're going to go ahead and fry the tomato paste for 30 to 45 seconds, not long, just enough for all of it to, and you'll see when you start working with it, it just kind of like separates into this really beautiful, thick coagulated stuff. But don't worry about that, because we're just going to add water and it will smooth out. So after about 45 seconds, when your tomato paste starts to break up and get really nice and fried and kind of color the oil a little bit, go ahead and add in your chickpeas, the Parmesan rind, pasta, salt, and pepper. Once all of your ingredients are in the pot, go ahead and turn it up to high. You want that water boiling. Now I like to serve this a little bit on the soupy side, but you can make it as soupy or as stewy as you want just by reducing the amount of water. So for a family of 2, that's roughly 3/4 cup of pasta to 2 cups of water. And so it makes it like a really thick, dense soup, which is how I prefer to eat it. You could make it a little richer and more like a pasta dish with just a slight sauce, or you could make it leaner and make it like a real soup and maybe add some kale or chard or something in with it. So because nothing is too spicy for me, I'm going to put 2 pinches of chili flakes. So I've undercooked the pasta just slightly. When you taste it, it should be a little undercooked because it's sitting in hot broth. So by the time you scoop it up, put it in your bowls, prep everything or get the food on the table, the pasta will continue to cook and it will generally overcook. So there's a few secrets to getting pasta just perfectly al dente. I'll never forget, I took my husband's mom and my mom to Italy a few years ago, and my mom's like, the pasta's not cooked, because in America we're so used to overcooking pasta. And metabolically, if you undercook pasta, you don't metabolize it the same way, and so it is actually better for us, and it makes our metabolism work harder to have pasta cooked the Italian way, which is al dente, which is just a tiny bite. So anytime the package directions say 11 minutes for pasta, I start checking it at 9, and a lot of times I'll pull it off at 9, because if I'm using in a soup, or I'm making a sauce and I want to toss that pasta back in with the sauce, I know that it's going to overcook by about a minute or 2 once I do that. So just play around with it. If you're used to making pasta the same way you always have, try pulling it a little bit before and seeing what happens. I think texture is really nice. Having a few recipes on hand that call for just a few number of ingredients that you generally have in your larder, or ingredients that you just have on hand all of the time. It's one of those things that makes cooking delightful. If you can whip something together when you're tired and you're worn out, and the big ones are going to start eating the little ones unless you get food on the table. This is what makes those nice, languishing, long Saturday leisurely family meals more fun. We all need these really simple, quick, delicious recipes in our repertoire. I hope you enjoy the dish as much as we do. It's one of my favorites. It's one of those super easy, fast, there's just no reason not to cook kind of meals. It takes maybe just a hair longer to make this than it does to make a bowl of quick instant noodles. So enjoy the recipe. I want to send a special kiss and love to Tangi and Amanda for bringing us all together. This is the first time in history that we haven't been limited by geography, where we can go out in the world and find our tribe, our people. Those of you that are interested in feeding your families well, feeding your families good food that isn't going to break the bank. So thank you for being here, and thank you, ladies, for doing this and bringing us all together. It's really extraordinary that we can all be here and be part of this community. So if you guys are curious about food or gardening or philosophy or my channel, freshprincesscooks, head on over there, subscribe, and I'll see you there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here, my beloveds. I will see you next time. Hopefully you couldn't just hear my stomach growl.